Good morning, Vietnam! It is 10 to 1, Sunday the 8th of March. It feels like for the last 8 days on the Steam blockchain, we've been at war. Huh. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Say it again. So, I've been thinking about this whole, for the last 2 or 3 days, I've actually just checked out of it, because it was just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Mexican standoff AF. But I've been thinking now ever since we kind of got the leaked news that, we've heard through the grapevine that Tron is probably going to buy Steam. Which, by the way, don't ever think that a huge number of people on the old Steam team didn't know that there was a potential buyout happening. Because, interesting how OpenSeed pops up and, yes, I'm timing this to perfection to resign, and then boom, SBS funds my project. Don't ever think I don't know. You may have fooled the rest, but you didn't fool me. Anyway, let's talk about what is it that Tron wants. What is it that Tron wants to do? What is the Tron blockchain all about? My initial investigations on the Steam, on the Tron blockchain is the top 10 dApps are just gaming platforms. They're just gambling sites. So from my perspective, from a person looking in at the Tron blockchain, it's mainly for gaming. That's how I see it. It has a high TX rate, transfer rate, and so it's perfect for gaming applications, because obviously you need that transaction to happen quickly. If you're buying gold or XP in a game, you want that transaction to go through pretty damn quick. So from the outside world looking in, I'd be like, okay, so Tron is probably a gaming platform. And then you start to look at the acquisitions and be like, okay, they bought this that didn't quite hit market fit, or just, couldn't find a user base or couldn't find a marketing fit in terms of selling their product to a bigger, wider general public audience. Tron seems to acquire and buy things like that don't have a market fit, or are a dying off project, or appear to be a dying off project to the outside world. So we've got a lot of potential falsehoods going on here. We don't know the background to Tron in terms of what they're trying to achieve. I can't find it anywhere that gives me an idea on that. So I have to go back a bit and dig around. So here are just a few of my thoughts about Tron and the whole story of Tron in my eyes as I've seen it so far. So back in 2018, 2 years ago, Tron acquired the P2P platform BitTorrent. So BitTorrent has been around for quite a while now. It was originally invented by a guy called Bram Cohen, who's been around as a bit of a cypherpunk for a long, long time. Got 3 lovely kids now, and took a nice check from this. When he sold out. BitTorrent tried to reinvent itself. It tried to be general public. It tried to get people platforms to use BitTorrent technology because it was cheaper. They could just host their seed to their video file and use it as a considerable cost saving compared to other platforms like Amazon and other things like that in terms of storage. But the speed was always a problem, because you need buy-in from a big seed network to compete against the speeds. You might be able to do it cheaper, but it's got to be as fast as the existing competition out there, which I don't think it ever really managed to do, because the network was just up and down all the time. So let's just dig apart this a little bit. So the protocol itself, BitTorrent protocol, has been around since 2001, right? So 19 fucking years is a long time to be a protocol in this space. I mean, I know there's a lot of other old protocols, which, now people have been finding vulnerabilities in left, right, and center. Even Intel chips, we're finding vulnerabilities still today. But the idea was distributed seeding by users who upload shareable content, which, when you think of blockchain being P2P, and then you think of Steam without witnesses, there is definitely some kind of gel system there between the two. It's almost like we've got content over here being created by a mass of people, and then we have BitTorrent over here. BitTorrent only really, yes, okay, you could serve up maybe you could integrate the witness code into BitTorrent in some way, and then lots of people can become witnesses instead of just a handful of people. Maybe that's an angle that they were going for. I don't know. But this whole idea that BitTorrent has millions and millions of users, they're not users in the true sense of being a user. It's not like me being a user at a Steam blockchain where I post on the Steam blockchain, I interact with the blockchain, I comment, I create videos, I put them on different social platforms. The majority of people using BitTorrent are downloading illegal movies. If that's not true, please show me the data that tells me any different, because I don't believe that to be the case. So, okay, you've got, I don't know, this 100 million users thing that they had bounted about, or this 40% regained its status as the world's largest decentralized protocol once transmitting 40% of daily internet traffic. So as a 22-year-old guy with $200 million behind me, I'm going to go for these big players, big protocols, right? If I can buy that protocol and supposedly in my head buy into this community of users, then that makes me look big. That makes me look bigger, right? So then the bigger power play was after that. So first of all, Tron bought BitTorrent for 126 million, right? And then he went on to buy Utorrent for, I think, how much was that? I can't find the news for it now. I can't find it, but the news was basically the Utorrent was 120 something million as well. I think 123 million, right? So I love the way that the next web said it was one of the Infinity Stones, right? For $140 million. Now, I should add here as well that one of these, I don't know if it was Utorrent or BitTorrent, but it was cash. It was paid in cash. Who the hell is rocking up with 120, 140 million in cash? Where did the cash come from? So you start to add these things together with like top 10 dApps are gambling. There's a hell of a lot of like transaction stuff going on in the gambling. Where is all this money coming from? Like, is it like people who have got like a state-sponsored hacking group just bringing in money into those kind of systems and then filtering it through into legit buying of companies? I mean, I'm just throwing it out there. I'm speculating. That could be complete bollocks, but I don't know. I'm trying to work out here. I'm trying to dig here. What is it that Tron wants to do? What's it trying to achieve? It must have some kind of roadmap here. Like, I'm trying to put that together. So it buys BitTorrent 140 million, right? 126 million, sorry. It bought BitTorrent for. I think he spent 140 million or no, 123 million on Utorrent. I could be wrong actually. He might have got Utorrent for like incredibly cheap. But here's another thing I've noticed I want to get into. On Tron Scan is their, let me see if I can bring up another window with Tron Scan in it. Let's go to home. On Tron Scan, this is their block explorer for the Tron blockchain. And from what I can see, is every time they acquire something, like a Utorrent or BitTorrent, they amalgamate it into their uniqueness. Very Borg-like, right? So you can see all these blocks here and what they've been produced by. So you can see Tron Spark, Crypto Knight, Infinite Stones, Utorrent, you see there. And if you look at these records, you can see that there is a bunch of things being produced by, I mean, here's one, Tron, Justin Sun, and it's actually linked to Justin Sun's Twitter account. So it's produced 608,000 blocks here, and he'll get a certain amount of TRX for that. So I don't know if this is Justin Sun's witness server, one of his witness supernode representatives, a bit like our consensus nodes, but he's obviously earning money for that, right? And there's another one for Utorrent, and the website URL goes to this INTZH version, right? So I think I brought it up here. Like, it looks identical. The page is the same, although the URL's different. So here's an interesting thing, is that I can no longer download the desktop version for Mac. It just gives me this web version every time. And I think that's because they don't have a 64-bit version of Utorrent. I don't know if they're going to have a 64-bit version of Utorrent desktop, but it seems super convenient that they're doing this Utorrent web. It makes it a lot easier to interact with a web version, especially from a perspective of rapidly prototyping something. Maybe you want to build in those TRX tokens into this system. But I did see somebody on Twitter post a picture of DLive being one of the kind of nodes. Now, that gets really interesting to me because instead of having video files hosted on a centralized server, imagine like an almost IPFS, so interplanetary file system, like DTube uses. Imagine having this like seed node, bunch of seed nodes of people who are running uTorrent all of the time. So you're giving up a certain amount of upload and download of your connection, and if you help out and assist by moving little bits of blocks of content around, then you get paid in the token. That makes sense to me. That's a really smart idea. And then obviously you can make money on Pro by buying more bandwidth in the system, by paying it with your token or changing different cryptos. So you end up with like a nice little exchange liquidity of people paying in to buy pro features, which I kind of dig. I'm a bit annoyed that I can't download a 64-bit Mac version today. I don't really want to run uTorrent web because it has a little tray bar and it runs in the background. I'm not into that. That's not what uTorrent is for me. uTorrent is a standalone app that I download and use when I want to use it. So all of this is like, okay, it makes sense from buying up these protocols. It makes sense, right? Buy BitTorrent, potentially dying project because can't find a market fit. Great technology, 19-year-old technology. I'm sure Brown Cohen has got something much better than that. I won't be surprised if he has a couple of years, 2 to 5 years, not to bring out a competing product. I feel like the blurring of the lines between media, decentralized media, gaming, video hosting, I feel like Tron is trying to build the ultimate decentralized platform for media in some way. But what worries me about that is the way that it consumes companies up while it does that. Because as far as I can work out on the Tron scan, the idea is to have, it feels like a real-time experiment, right? They've got 837 nodes online. I think we only have a couple of hundred with the Steam blockchain. I know they're completely different things. But also, you can see that there's it's pretty damn underused right now. 12 transactions per second is not really that great. I mean, we're on about account growth, and that's going up. But is that accounts created across all of these different plugin things? I mean, it looks great to investors, a chart that's going up and to the right. Everybody wants that. But all I'm seeing is that, the uTorrent thing, they buy the app, they change it a little bit so that everything that happens through uTorrent, so somebody grabbing a movie from a seed, from a BitTorrent seed, that becomes a transaction on the Tron blockchain. But what is the usefulness of that? It links back through to BitTorrent, but is that because somebody has been paid TX records? I presume so. So I can't test this to be the case yet, but I presume that's how it works. But where's the end goal? I just don't... yes, they've got a news site, this thing called Tron Spark, and you can convert TRX to USD. There's a whole news thing in there. It's obvious that they definitely want to have a piece of media in there. The way that Justin talks on Twitter, he's very much even when things are frustrating him, he's still on there on social media pumping stuff out we're going up, we just acquired this, we're on this exchange. There's a momentum there, and it feels very time-based, time-critical. It feels like he's trying to get somewhere in a certain time frame. But I just don't know the roadmap yet. Is it just to acquire as many failing or badly fitting market fit blockchain projects as possible? And did Steam give him the shock of his life when he realized that even though it's a 4-year-old project, we have this band of brothers and sisters in the Steam consensus top 20 that are fighting for decentralized of their chain. It's not just about move aside, buy the product, out we go. What are these? What's the last me? What's the last me? I don't know what that is. This Minergate. I know Minergate is a downloadable piece of software for mining cryptocurrencies on your own computer. But it just feels like there's so many different plugged in things into the chain, And I don't know the end goal. I think from what I can work out is that Tron wants to be the go-to plugin blockchain that gives you a certain amount of it gives you a way to add value to transactions that happen inside of your systems, right? So Minergate, that makes sense to me, because Minergate is like a piece of software that you can download. I don't know if they've bought Minergate or they're a heavy sponsor of Minergate. I don't know. I don't know where Steam benefits from Tron apart from adding the sheer amount of TX records that we have on our platform. It feels like growth to Tron and the Tron Foundation is just bigger in the hope that if they can move up that chart in terms of TX records, and obviously people are doing transactions on that chain, that it's going to get them up to the top. I mean, I can't even bring up this last me, so I don't even know what the hell that is. So, I mean, here's another one, infstones.io. What the hell's infstones? Is that something that got bought out? Reliable proof of stake with high rewards, all coverage on top POS chains. What the hell is that? Infinity Stones 2019. You know, somebody in 2018 writes a post about Tron buying BitTorrent, and it's one of his Infinity Stones, and then a year later they build a site called infstones.io a year later. I don't know, man. There's some dodgy shit going on here, if you ask me. And then you've got like Tron Alliance, which is supposedly a non-profit organization initiated by the Tron community, aiming at expediting service rollouts for companies that provide enterprise-class application with Tron's blockchain technology. So you're like they're trying to cover all of the bases. Like, from my perspective, looking in, especially somebody looking to investigate Tron or Tron Foundation, is where do you start? And maybe that's the point, right? Is you just have all of these funnels coming into TronScan. I don't know. People are not talking necessarily about the money component of Tron for me, and coming in and buying a bunch of stake, with this lean against the house situation that we have, and then wanting to flip that quickly. I don't know. I'm always concerned of the source of the funds. Like, yes, okay, we want big investors in the Steam blockchain, but the source of where those funds come from and what the end goal is for investing is always two questions that are important to me in anything that I would invest in or be part of. So I know that didn't help very well of like what Tron's trying to do, but I just wanted to put your lens or your eyes onto the Tron scan. I think there's some answers in this Tron scan, but we need to unpick it, and we need to unpick it as to why is Tron Foundation buying all of these blockchain companies and bonding them together, recoding some of these sites, adding blocks to their uniqueness. It feels like a Borg cube moving through blockchain space, just assimilating code projects as it goes. But where are we heading to? What is the end goal? Are we suddenly going to see something get switched on and be like, we're now the decentralized hub of all media? That kind of makes sense to me. BitTorrent, Utorrent, building in support into Utorrent for DTube. Tron putting money into IPFS development, maybe even buying up IPFS, even though it's an open source project, but then Steam's an open source project, but we're still here today with this situation. I don't know, man. Thoughts, ideas? I would love to hear them.
Drifting